What is up, guys? Have you ever had a table locally in Power Query and wished it would be available everywhere while still maintaining all the existing relationships in your stars and snowflakes schemas and maintaining all the calculated columns? Well, there is a simple way to migrate a local table as a data flow while keeping all the calculated columns and modeling intact. Today I'm going to show you how to complete this process in a couple simple steps. So without further ado, let's get into it. So here we are in the report. This is a basic weather report which takes the data from a weather API and updates the weather values. Here the main table is the dim forecast table, which has some calculated columns. So if we wanted to move this table to a data flow and then keep all the calculated columns, we can achieve that by doing the table migration. So next I will show the steps that are required to complete the migration from Power Query to a data flow. From local Power BI desktop, Power Query to a data flow. So first we can go to the Power Query. In Power Query we can go to the advanced editor, and here you can see it has quite a bit of steps, quite a bit of applied steps. So we can copy the advanced editor content. Then we can go to Power BI. You can go to your selected workspace and then click New Item. We can scroll down and click the Data Flow Generation 2. Next we can open a new blank query and paste all the mQuery here. Then we have the data gateway. This is going to be your on-premises enterprise gateway, which you can download for free from Microsoft. I will also include the link to the gateway in case you don't have it. As a small side note, you can know that the gateway is online and working if you go to the Task Manager, and here you see Microsoft Power BI Enterprise Gateway. The gateway also needs to be updated to the latest version so that it will work with Dataflow Generation 2. Then you can click Next, and here we get an error which says we could not evaluate this query due to invalid or missing credentials. We can go to Configure Connection, select the connection type, and then we can click Edit Connection. Here we have the authentication kind as Windows. We can input our Windows login username. You can choose your preferred privacy level. Here I just leave it as none. Then you can click Connect. Here I get an error. The import name table matches no exports. This is because this dim forecast table also refers to other tables in the Power Query. So I will go back to Power Query. It uses the function forecast and also the name table. So I will copy those two tables, click copy. Then back in the data flow, you can click Ctrl and V to paste. And now we have also the function forecast and the name table in the data flow. Now for the dim forecast table, we can do the previous step again. So we can click Configure Connection, then select Edit Connections. We can change the authentication kind to Windows, and then I just add my Windows login username and the password. Change the privacy level to none and click Connect. Here it asks another question about the privacy levels, so I just click Ignore the privacy settings. Then I click Save, and now we have the table imported. You can rename it as dim forecast as it is in the report. Now I know for a fact that there is an error we get from the moon rise. So I will go to the moon rise column, then replace errors, replace with null, convert it back to time, and then we can rename the data flow. So here I just rename it as forecast, click publish. When you publish, you might get an error if your enterprise gateway is an older version. So then you know you have to update the enterprise gateway. It takes a little bit for the forecast to publish, and it also refreshes automatically. So you have to wait until it is refreshed in order for it to appear in the Power BI desktop. Here there was also error in the moon set, so I will go back to the forecast, then replace the error with null and then change it to time as well and republish. Now once the refresh is ready, I go back to Power BI and then we can go back to Power Query. Here we can select new source, then more, and then Dataflow. Here I choose the top one as we have the Dataflow generation 2. Then I select my workspace. Then from my workspace I select the forecast Dataflow. And from the forecast Dataflow the only visible table, which is the dim forecast. Here I click OK and we have the table imported. Power Query renamed it as dim forecast 2. That's okay, we don't need this table in a bit. So first I will go to the advanced editor and we can see that the applied steps look very different. So here this code includes all the applied steps and we can modify the steps in the Dataflow in Power BI service if we need to. So here I just copy the code, I go to our original dim forecast table, go to advanced editor, then we can just select everything and replace it with the Dataflow importing code. We can click done. And now everything is replaced by the data coming from the Dataflow. We don't need the dim forecast 2 table anymore, so I will just delete that one and then click apply. Now once the table is loaded, we can see that it's already open, so everything looks the same as before, and we also have our calculated columns and modeling intact. So now the migration from the Power BI desktop Power Query to the Dataflow is ready. And now you can also schedule a refresh for the table directly in the Dataflow, and also all the modifications can be done globally in the Dataflow instead of locally in the desktop. Next, I publish the report, replace, then open it in Power BI. Now if you go to the report semantic model, we can refresh the report and we can see that the report refreshed. And when we refresh the page, we can now also see that the semantic model refreshed. Here, if you get a refresh error, one common reason is you might have not set up your enterprise gateway connection correctly. In that case, go to File and Settings, navigate to the semantic models, and then choose your report. After that, navigate to Gateway and Cloud Connections, and you can see your current gateways. Here you can see the currently running enterprise gateway, and here are the connections it maps to. So if you don't have a connection here, you can always go to manually add to gateway. Then you can choose the connection name, choose the authentication method. Here you can click the edit credentials and add your account. You can also choose to skip the test connection and then choose the privacy level. Then click create. And now you can choose the new gateway and map the enterprise gateway to that connection. Then click apply, navigate back to the semantic model and refresh again. And there you go. The semantic model is now mapped to that new connection and the report is refreshing. So there you go, guys. If you like this content and found it helpful, leave a like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.